Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj Dasgupta.
The most interesting pulmonologist in the world.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast, a show all about empowering knowledge, addressing difficult topics, raising awareness, and being positive. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician, associate professor of clinical medicine, and the associate program director of internal medicine residency. He was a co-host on the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast. And what is this a podcast of? A podcast of happiness and wellness, great stories, amazing people. And in this episode, we sit down with Jillian Tygh, Chief Marketing Officer at Inspire, to explore the deeper mission behind the largest health-focused online support community. With over 10 million visitors each year and communities spanning more than 3,000 conditions, Inspire connects patients and caregivers not just with each other, but with purpose and power and possibility. We'll talk about the emotional drivers that fuel Inspire's work, the way members influence real-world research and treatment, and why a patient-driven platform even matters now more than ever. Whether you're newly diagnosed, caring for someone you love, or simply looking for people who get it, this conversation right now offers insight, encouragement, and a pathway to connection. With that being said, Jillian, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thanks, Dr. Raj. Thanks for having me.
You are super welcome. So I want to ask, before we go diving into Inspire, so it sounds like you're kind of sporty. You're a sporty person. So why do you like kickboxing? Do you have anger issues or something like that?
Yes, actually. You know what? It started as, health and wellness. It was just something that I was drawn to when I was younger, before kids, right? So, the boxing and the kickboxing, actually, I come from a family of boxers.
Oh.
Yes, my grandfather is Philadelphia Hall of Fame, Boxing Hall of Fame. My dad was a boxer. And so I was boxing from a very, very young age. I think I boxed before I could walk.
That's funny.
So kickboxing kind of came naturally, just the aerobics, and I really enjoyed it. And I ultimately became an instructor, and I loved it. But then my first child came, and so that stopped, of course, as things do. And I also played soccer through my entire life up until college, and I love that too. And my husband is from England, and he also plays. So our children have no choice.
No, that's so funny. So have you ever been kicked in the nose? Have you ever broken your nose before?
Not from kickboxing, but from soccer, I have. Yes.
Wait a minute. That's opposite. It shouldn't be that way. Were you giving a header and you headed it with your nose instead of your forehead or something?
Kind of. I was in a wall blocking a kick, and I blocked it with my face.
Wow.
So,
damn.
Yes.
Well, I know if you're going to protect the goal, you're probably a great mom. You'll protect your kids.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, that is all of my free time is either on the mat or at a soccer field.
So is your dad Rocky Balboa from Philadelphia?
No.
Okay.
My dad's boxing career did not last quite as long as his father's did, but yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, I really want to make sure that my listeners know what Inspire is. I know I gave this awesome summary in the beginning, but so once again, in your words, what is Inspire? What drew you to Inspire? And let's talk about its mission, okay?
Sure. So, at its core, it is community for all patients, and it is to find other patients and other caregivers, such as yourself, to share your stories and really find that community aspect, to find other people experiencing the same thing you're experiencing at the same time, which you have the traditional support groups, but sometimes they're difficult to find. The times may not align with your schedule, particularly if you're a caregiver, right? If you're a very sick patient, you're not going to be able to leave the home to go to your support groups. This is all online, right? You can do it from your phone. We have an app. It's a website as well as an app. It's very, very easy to find those people, and it's free for everyone. And it really, really just adds that mental and emotional support that I think, clinical care sometimes, I don't want to say overlooks it, but doesn't really focus on it, right? You're focused on the treatment plan and getting better and getting well. But so much of wellness is mental and emotional.
Yeah.
And there are studies that show that really improves outcomes. And so this is a way for patients to find that, to have someone else to talk to.
So let's walk it through real quick. So I see my patient, and let's make it the patient with dementia. So do I tell my patient's caregiver, like, hey, just go to your computer and on a Google search, put down Inspire? Or how would they literally find you? You know what I mean? If they're looking for support groups to go into. Because I say it all the time. What is the best thing when you have a disease is to find others who could give you their input and form bonds and da-da-da. So how would they start that process? How would they know what Inspire is? And let's be honest. Right now, the name Inspire reminds me of this new device for obstructive sleep apnea. So once if they do that and they find OSA treatment instead, how are they going to find you guys when they go on the computer?
Sure. The easiest way is inspire.com. That is the bar none the easiest way. However, you also partnered with over 100 advocacy groups.
Okay.
And, one of the first sources of information when you're first diagnosed is to find the advocacy group that knows the most about it, right?
Yeah.
In those instances, they will refer directly to our site, directly to their community. So the site is broken out into specific disease communities so that when you go on, it's not like a Twitter feed where you follow certain people, though you can do that. You will go directly to your community and have those conversations in there. And you can join.
So would you have to type in your disease state or what you want in some kind of search bar when you get to the Inspire website? Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Inspire.com, and you just go into the search bar, you search for your disease area, and it will auto-populate as you type, and you select the community, and you can go in and you can browse. You can go in and see what people are talking about. If you want to post, you do have to become a member. And your privacy is it's anonymized. You don't use your real name. Obviously, we don't want you sharing medical information with your real name. But it's all private. It's all anonymous. And you can you go right directly to your disease area or even we have just a caregiver support group too, where caregivers can just come and talk to other caregivers about the challenges that they're having as well.
So let's talk about a common disease state. Let's say someone comes in, they're a type 2 diabetic. And they're just, been told they may need insulin. So would I be approaching it correctly by saying, go to inspire.com, put in type 2 diabetes, and do you have stuff there for my type 2 diabetics?
Yes. Not only do we have a community where people are discussing type 2 diabetes, but we also have content and educational resources to support you as well. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm liking this even more. And you know what? I'm not like I do stuff for Inspire, but I really love our interaction when I was on the Inspire platform for my main jam, sarcoidosis, which I love to represent them. But yeah, there's high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart failure. There's so many, unfortunately, common disease states that I see every day. I want to make sure that platform is good for common diseases, not just things that may not be as seen as often.
Yes, it is. We do have type 2 diabetes. We have multiple cancer communities. So we have just cancer as a whole. But then if you drill down, you can find anything from, triple negative breast cancer to prostate cancer to colorectal cancer. We have all of these groups, and in most instances, they are supported by a patient advocacy group, and that is where a lot of the content comes from. A lot of our information comes from them.
Gotcha.
Share resources with the patients, and they will also sometimes come on and answer questions. If a patient asks a question, sometimes we have a patient advocate join and they'll answer the question on their behalf. And then we also have our Ask the Expert series, which you are familiar with.
Yay.
Dr. Raj has joined a number of our Ask the Expert series where patients ask their questions and they're answered by a board-certified physician.
So let me ask you this. From enjoying like kicking other people, how do you go from there into being part of Inspire?
That is quite the question. Yeah. So my whole career has been in life sciences and healthcare. I believe it or not, I had considered being a nurse at one point in my life. But I went to school to be a teacher. So for me, this is actually quite the amalgamation of those two things. You know, you think about educating patients, you think about serving patients. And I'll be honest with you, Dr. Raj, math is not my subject. I think that that broken nose, that soccer ball to the face might have knocked some of that math out. But so nursing was not for me. Marketing was a much more clear course. But this really allows me to kind of get into the education space, but also serve patients, which is the ultimate goal.
I like that. I like that very much so. So let's go back to my patient. You know what I mean? My patient has type 2 diabetes. They go to inspire.com. They find what they needed, whether it be from a patient advocacy standpoint or disease state. So what do you hope that my patients find when they actually join Inspire? What do you hope they feel?
Inspired. No, I'm sorry. That was too easy. You walked me right into that one. No, I hope they feel like a sense of home. Like this is really like, and some of our members even say that they're like, this is my family. Like you are my family. I needed this. The comments that patients leave are tremendous. I mean, we've had cancer patients say, you know, I was depressed. I had no hope. And I came here and I'm talking to you, another person who went through this disease. We have survivors on our site too, right?
Oh, so nice.
You've lived this experience and you survived and you've given me hope for another day, right? And that for me, I'm like, that's all I need to see. You know, I read these quotes every day and I'm like, this is amazing. We have a whole team that just kind of goes into Inspire and pulls these quotes out for us on the business side and like reminds us, this is why you're doing this, right? This is what it's all about. And it's just amazing. So we want them to feel at home and when they feel comfortable sharing, comfortable to ask questions, right? Sometimes people feel silly asking some questions that they absolutely should ask and not Google may not be able to answer for them. Not to mention Dr. Google is not always right. So, and I'm sure you as a clinician have had your share of Dr. Googles come into your office and tell you you're wrong. And, you know, there's so much misinformation that, you know, sharing a lived experience is its weight in gold. And I just want patients to feel comfortable sharing and receiving that information.
So does it kind of, you know, does Inspire go beyond mean just patients, you know, talking to each other online? What impact can it really have?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So yes, it's more than just that, right? We have opportunities for patients to join clinical trials. And in some of the more severe disease states, that is your last option. And that is unfortunate, but it is true. And not many patients know how to navigate the clinical trial process.
No.
Clinical trials are complex.
Yeah.
And I think this is an area where we're growing right now. We're doing a lot more around clinical trial education so that patients really understand what goes into a clinical trial. One of the biggest questions is, are they safe? Right? There's so much misinformation about the safety protocols that are involved, not just the safety protocols, but the screening process. And they have no idea how to navigate that. And to that end, some clinicians don't know either. They're not really sure how to answer those questions or how to direct the patients or where to direct them to. So one of the things that we do is we offer patients that we ask when they join, would you be interested in learning more about these trials? And only the patients who say yes receive the emails about that. But we also have spaces on the site that say, find a clinical trial near you. And we're building up more content to support answering the questions around that. Like, are they safe? What is a clinical trial? What am I going to be asked to do? Right. And what is informed consent? And what questions should I be asking? And who is the principal investigator? What does this mean? And so we're really building that out to make sure that everybody understands it. But that's one of the things we offer. We offer the Ask the Expert series, like I mentioned. Mm-hmm. We have educational content, not only from our patient advocacy group partners, but that we build ourselves. That is all reviewed by a medical doctor, so it's not Dr. Google. And we're working on some pretty exciting things. One of the other things that we're working through right now is we're in discussions for partnership for pharmacy, RX Less. We're in design. It's in product, so it's happening. Basically, the patients will be able to type in the name of the drug that they're on and potentially get coupons or get it at a discounted rate.
Oh, I like that very much so. So let's take a step back about this research and clinical trials. So that is something I would love to know for my patients who have cancer, you know what I mean, who are looking for what's out there, or even non-cancerous stage for like chronic diseases where there may be a new therapy for helping you breathe better. So are the clinical trials going to Inspire, and they can enroll through Inspire to these clinical trials? Am I saying it correctly? So how are these universities? I assume a lot of them are university. Maybe some can be pharmacy driven. How do they know to go to you for these trials? And how can you recruit people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We partner with life sciences organizations, pharmaceutical, as well as university academic research institutions, and they will come to us and say, how do patients on your site have this disease, right? Yeah. So let's say, how many patients on your site have Friedreich's ataxia, as an example, right? That's a rare disease.
Yeah.
So we know exactly how many because they will raise their hand or be part of the community, and so we can give them a rough estimate. And then they'll say, do you think they'd be interested in this trial? And we're, let's find out. Let's find out. We can say, with certainty, like this number of patients have raised their hand and said that they would be interested. Or we can say, we'll put out feelers and see. So that's kind of how that comes into us, into Inspire. Yeah. But one of the things that's in development right now is the ability for patients to then find trials that are near them.
Of course. Yeah.
So that is, we're working through that. Right now, the way that the trials are we have advertisement advertisement on our site. We also have the email. So we'll email directly. We're going to expand that to make it a little more.
I can't tell you how I didn't even know this before the interview. That for me as a clinician, that's amazing because I always tell my patients in passing, like, hey, and always keep your eyes and ears open for a trial. But what help is that? You know what I mean? That's such a broad statement to say. It's true, but I wish I could really help them. And also the fact that if you really could get the trials closer to where they live, because I could tell you something that, when I was on your podcast a couple of minutes ago, I talked about my father-in-law who had the brain tumor glioblastoma. There were trials, but they were like states away. And when you have a cancer, you want to be by your family. You don't want to be traveling and stuck in some hospital and not way close to your house. So I really do like that. And if it was me and I was your marketing person, I would market that part about the research. The trial's really big. I mean, I think that's really, really, really good. And I could tell you that, a lot of the drugs that I want my patients to be on, they can't afford it. So I really like that thing you're doing with the farm stuff. See, that's really cool. I dig that. And I'm not just saying that because I'm interviewing you. I really do like it.
Yeah, we really do try to find new and innovative ways to serve the patient. And the way that we're informed of what they need is through their conversations. We see all of it and we can pick up some trends and some questions that they're asking. And so that's kind of informing the product strategy on how we're building out the rest of the site and enhancing it and making it better. And those are two areas, obviously healthcare in the United States is overwhelmingly expensive.
Yeah.
Medical costs are through the roof and prescriptions aren't any cheaper. So anything to make their lives a little easier, we're aiming to do for sure.
I agree. So I got to know this. This is one of those, tell me about a really special moment, with you on the Inspire platform that really super stuck with you, something that was really powerful and unexpected. You have something you want to share?
This is funny. So years ago, I worked for a company called MedRio, and I did a podcast there as well. And one of my guests, her name's Kimberly Richardson, and she is the founder of the Black Cancer Collaborative. Okay. And so I approached her to come on my podcast here at Inspire, and I was like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Black Cancer Collaborative, and let's talk about what the work you're doing. And she was like, yeah, Jill, that's great. She's like, I know Inspire. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, she's had multiple cancer diagnoses. And she said, the first time I was diagnosed with cancer, I found Inspire, and I found my community there, and I am very supportive of it. And I had no idea. I mean, I was like, wow, okay. Serendipitous. I was like, that's amazing. Like, I love that you know who we are. I love that you, not only that, but you've used the platform. And she was like, absolutely. She's like, I would refer so many people to Inspire. She's like, it really helped her. And and that was like her first step towards patient advocacy, which is what she is now. She's a patient advocate. And it kind of kickstarted that for her. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that story, like, that's amazing. Yeah. So that was like personal too, because I knew her. So I was like, that's great.
That one. Yeah, I was like, well, is this like a HIPAA violation? But I love that story, dude. But no, I love that one.
She talks about it on my podcast too. So
I know. So anyways, I do want to ask this question because, when I first got to experience being on Inspire, that it was really, I loved it that it wasn't a physician based company. I loved it that it wasn't going to be directly pharmaceutical oriented. So why is it so important that patients and caregivers have a space that's truly theirs and not run by me or other drug companies and stuff?
We've found that patients tend to be more honest and open with other patients. When you think about the question, it's the one I always think about. When you go to the doctor just for a routine physical, how many drinks do you have a week? I don't know, 2, and it's more than that or less, and no one's telling the truth, right? It's, yep. You get what you get. And I think as a clinician, you're like, all right, well, like, let's add 5 to that. So they're a little more open. They're a little more honest. But they also are sharing some emotional burdens that I don't think clinicians pick up. And that is so important. And barriers to care, barriers to adherence for their therapeutics, right? Side effects, that's another one. The side effects that we have worked with pharmaceutical companies to kind of say, like, hey, did you know that this is coming up in here in these conversations? And that helps them. And I know that everybody's kind of like, oh, pharma, I don't want anything that makes treatment safer is a good thing, right? I get it. You don't want them involved in your day-to-day life. I don't either, right? But anything that makes their treatment safer, which is what they're looking to do, is a good thing. And so they're sharing that information. They're sharing some unmet needs, right? Adahonia is one of them. So that's part of major depressive disorder. We found so many patients who had that just based on what they were saying. And they didn't know. They didn't, because who knows what that is? What it is it's no longer having enjoyment in things you once enjoyed before when you have major depressive disorder. So if you at one point in time really loved cooking and then you are depressed and it's like, oh, cooking just makes me miserable now, right? Like that. And you don't know why. That's adahonia, right? So we found those little nuggets in there, and I'm like, this is kind of powerful stuff, that people need to understand, like that those emotional barriers, those emotional triggers, and just understanding the patient journey, right? Yeah. Pharma and the academic research institutions, like they're looking at statistics, and we want them to look at the whole patient. Look at the patient holistically, treat the patient holistically. And I think that's what these conversations allow them to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. And, in regards to pharma, I really feel that there is always a stigma about it. But I can tell you that there's always the good side about the awareness they're trying to raise, even if it's a little self-serving. I think there's a positivity that people know that, wow, people are investing in my disease state. There are treatments out there that I can ask about and have a conversation with others and my clinician. So I do see the good in many of these pharmaceutical companies, you know what I mean? And it's not easy to have a trial. It's not easy to have the financing to get that magical answer in a double-blinded, placebo-controlled trial. You know what I mean? So I think it's wonderful. I love the way that Inspire is run. I love the way that you've taken the best of clinicians and pharmaceutical to get the things. And I love what you said about the side effects. That's really important. And where else would you get that platform to complain about real life things? I dig that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even.
Yeah. You fire away. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, sometimes it's not even complaining. Like in that case of Adahonia, it's just saying things like, I used to love this and now I don't. And I don't know why. Right. And that may or may not be a side effect of medication.
Yeah.
But it is something that, they're sharing and they're talking about. And it's important for yourself too. I think about postpartum depression is a big one for me because I can speak from personal experience. I had postpartum depression with both of my boys. And I didn't know Inspire existed at the time. And I wish I had, because that is so tremendously isolating. You are now in charge of a tiny human and you are miserable and you don't know why. It should be the happiest time in your life and you're just miserable and you have no idea why. Right. And just in the previous podcast that we recorded for Inspire, you had said, you need to take care of yourself first as a caregiver. Now you are this caregiver and you need, and I couldn't, right. And I didn't know what to do. And I had my husband to talk to, but he had no idea what I was going through. Yes, sleepless nights, but he didn't have the hormonal imbalances and all the other stuff happening. And so it would have been nice to be able to talk to somebody else. And I found that, women who had gone through it before are kind of like, we forget.
Yeah.
We forget. And if you don't have somebody else going through it at that exact time, it's really hard to have a realistic conversation, right? Whereas we do have a postpartum depression community. And these women are sharing with each other and supporting one another. And I think that that's just wonderful. And I wish I had known about it at the time.
Are you part of it? Through Inspire?
I am a member of Inspire now, but was not I didn't even know Inspire existed when I had my kids. My oldest is 11 and my youngest is 9. So, yeah.
Wow. Now, just out of curiosity, I did this radio show before doing this podcast about obstructive sleep apnea. It was on Sirius XM. I was so pumped, dude. So we were talking about GLP-1 agonists. Those are the Ozempics and Wegovys and Zepbounds. Is that a hot topic on Inspire now? Are people talking about that?
Yes. And so funny, I said postpartum is the only one I can relate to. That's not true because I also am a GLP-1 taker.
Wait, you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think you need it. And this is a video chat. I don't think you need it.
Yeah. No, it worked. It worked. So I don't need it anymore. But it is. So we have a diet, fitness, and diet, fitness, and general health group right now where a lot of those conversations are happening. They're also happening in the type 2 diabetes communities, but they're also popping up in some interesting areas.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I've seen it in a couple of rare diseases. Has this worked for your rare disease? Which is interesting because that is an off-label that we didn't even know about, right? So we're finding some off-label stuff happening. But the GLP-1s are a very hot topic. I'm on there talking about it all the time because so many people are on it, and this is interesting.
Tell me, I want to hear this. Yeah.
The side effects are so different. They range. There's such a wide range. And some of the tips and tricks that other people have used are actually very useful. So one of the things that I experienced
I want to hear it. Yeah.
Were tremendously debilitating leg cramps. I mean, they were horrible. And I could not figure it out. I couldn't sleep. I was like, oh, I got to go off this. It's not working. Something's wrong. And, I did the Dr. Google.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But I found quite a few people were talking about this. And the solution was electrolytes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And I drank a Gatorade and I felt better. And I was like, wow, that worked. I mean, because in my mind, I'm like, what's it hurt? I'm going to try it. Yeah. It worked. So we're seeing a lot of that. And I'm on there having those conversations too.
So, no, dude, I want to be nosy. You opened this up. So you're off the medication now, correct?
No, I'm still on it for maintenance.
So is it a different dosing now? Or are you focusing more on diet, exercise, and lifestyle to maintain? You know what I mean? So is it different dosing? And can you answer that?
Yeah. So I went up to like the highest dose.
Okay.
That was pretty early on. I've lost 75 pounds.
Damn. Good for you.
Yeah. And, diet and exercise were never my challenge. After I had my children, I had some major hormonal issues that never resolved. And then COVID happened and forget it. Right. Yeah. Everything went out the window with that. And you and I just talked about when you're caregiving, right? And I think I look at parenthood as caregiving.
100%.
You forget to exercise sometimes.
Yep.
You forget to eat well when you're running people around, tiny humans trying to keep them alive. So it was a bad time. After I went up to the highest dose and met my, my goals, I titrated down.
Good.
And now it's just at a maintenance level. Yeah.
Nice. And I was talking on your podcast that, caregivers don't get little certificates and gold stars. Being a parent, I know you have 4. I got 3 with 1 kid with autism. And those days where it's like, someone's always crying. Someone's always angry. Why can't we all just be happy? I'm trying to be the best mom, best dad, and I was just telling my wife, like, you know what I could really go for? Can someone just give me a little award for being a parent? You know what I mean? Which you'll never get. It's hard. Yeah. And I think you're right that we don't even mention as much. Just being a parent is hard. A good parent is hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. It's the most rewarding and most challenging job, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, okay, I got to do my last question with you here. So if someone who's listening to my Dr. Raj podcast is feeling overwhelmed, is feeling isolated, what would you want them to know about Inspire?
I mean, number one, you're not alone. Somebody somewhere is going through the same thing and feeling the same way. And most likely you will find a person like that on inspire.com for sure. And don't feel embarrassed or nervous or scared to share because no one knows who you are. You don't have to use your real name. You don't have to give any information that you don't want to give. And you can ask as many questions as you want and not feel stupid. And it's great for that. And I am an end user of Inspire and I do those things all day.
Well, Jill, I got to tell you, you're really cool, dude. I'm glad I got a chance to know you a little bit. I love that you're a sports person. I love that you're just being honest on here. That was great. And so thanks for being on. And I really enjoy being part of your team at inspire.com. I mean it.
Yeah, no, we love to have you. You're the happiest doctor I've ever met, but also very, very, very very informative, very useful for all of our members. And I appreciate everything you've done for us as well.
All right. Well, anyways, Jillian, thanks again. And everyone out there listening to Dr. Raj podcast, stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, we'll have our next episode.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dr. Raj podcast. If you enjoy the show, then please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app and leave a rating while you're there. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. This has been a production of MedPrep2Go, and you can learn more at medprep2go.com.